I'm going to talk about creating a cutout to do an image manipulation. So the first thing I need to do is to go ahead and find the file that I want to manipulate. And so I'm going to take a look at pictures that I already have, since I know that people, Mary, watching this are interested in Mr. Page. I will go ahead and start with that. So let me see if I can find a picture of him that has not already been manipulated. Usually if I'm going to get them from either a video or from online, I'm going to get it in JPEG form. So we've got this picture of Jack, who is in a what I called it good lighting. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut him out of the picture. So I'm going to open this. And so I've got this larger image size here. It's a good size actually to work with. I can see if I'm looking at the size that it's zoomed in 100%. If I need to get closer, I sometimes will zoom in even further. But for now, we'll start with this. So my favorite tool for doing these manips is to go ahead and choose over here, this pathfinding tool. So that's not the one I want. Where's my path tool? Paths. Probably should edit this, but I probably won't. Alright, so I've got my path tool. And so I've got this little X and the circle in it, and I'm going to go ahead and click along the edges that I want to cut out. So here it's a little bit trickier, so I'm going to change the view so I can see it a lot closer, so that I make sure that I'm getting exactly the pieces that I want. And now I've left I should have started with that because I've left my tool. Oh no, it's going to let me keep going. And so I'm going to cut close to the skin. You can also do this by doing color image, going with just deleting a color, but that ends up sometimes taking out parts that you really need to use. Alright, so because he's a little too close there, I need to go ahead and select it again, move it around. And see, the reason I'm going so close here is so that I can really just manipulate the image with him in it. I don't have a lot of extra. On a background like this, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but when I put him against a darker background, you're going to see the glowing edges, and I'd rather not do that. So if I want to put him somewhere that needs to have a little bit more definition, then it makes sense for me to... Oh no, did I lose it? I lost it. So if you click off the tool, and this is a pain, then you end up losing everything that you've already done. So that is a huge pain in the rear. So I'm going to probably be a little bit sloppier than I would normally be, because I'm annoyed that I have to start over. But I can sort of fix that too with the erase tool. So I'm going ahead and clicking around. Once I get to the flat planes, like of his suit, I don't have to be quite so precise, but anything that's on a curve, you're going to want to put more points. Okay, so I missed here, and I want to move it back closer. So as long as I'm still on that point, I can move it back closer. And there's a little bit of a bump here. All right, so I need to be careful not to click outside of the thing, or else it's going to do the same issue and I'm going to lose it. So I go as close to the edge as I can reasonably without breaking the path. So I've got my path that I've already done, but now I'm having to do it again. Like I said, I'm not being quite so precise as I maybe would be if I had something specific in mind here. This is still pretty close because this is at 400% zoom, so it's not as difficult to catch here. And try to get his hair. You do have to sort of look out for where the actual edges of things are, because sometimes we think the edges are one place and they're actually somewhere else. Like I might want to take out that little cowlick, and that's okay. All right, so now that I've made it all the way around, I'm going to take a look again at the view at 100%. So I've got him isolated. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this path the selected section. So I'm going to select from path, and so now I've got this separated from this. But I want to remove the background and keep him. So right now he is selected, so I'm going to go ahead and invert the selection. And before I do that, actually, I'll show you what happens if I don't do that. The other part of this is that you want the background to be transparent if you're going to be dropping it in somewhere. Usually, like if I go ahead and just, I'll show you what it looks like. If I delete with it not inverted, it deletes him. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to edit. And it showed a white background instead of a clear background. So I've got two things that I have to do here. First is I need to select the inverted selection so that when I hit delete, it disappears the background. But I don't want him on a white background. I want him on a clear background so I can drop him in into another location, into Franny's bedroom or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and instead of keeping this white, I'm going to go to my layer tools and transparency. I'm going to add an alpha channel. So what this does is it basically says that anything that isn't the picture is going to be void. So right now it's still selected on the white. If I hit delete, I've got these checks in the background. All right, so then I want to make sure that I've cleaned them up as much as I can. You know, I'd use the little wand tool that does the color separation. Make sure that I've done that. If I want to make this image a little tighter, I can go to image and I can do a zealous crop, and it'll do it for me. It'll take it to the smallest angle that we have for it. So now I've got this free floating Jack torso and head, and I'm going to head and I'm going to save this as well, first I need to save it as a GIMP file, the XCF file, and I'm going to just, because I don't have anything else with that name, I'm going to name it the same thing as I had the JPEG. So then also I've got to have this as a PNG. I don't really need to if I'm going to just put in another image, but if I'm going to have the image by itself, it needs to be in something that is another format. So I'm going to use PNG, and I'm going to export it. And most of these are already preset. You don't have to worry about them all that much. You can play around with them, but they don't really make a whole lot of difference. All right, so I've got this saved. And then I want to put it in a different background. So I'm going to open... well, I'm going to open as layers. So opening as layers means that there's going to be another picture that's in the layer with it. So I have this whole big section of, I call it paper dolls. So I've got these backgrounds that I've picked from various things. I've got this Moroccan bedroom, so that looks like a good one to go with. So I'm going to open that up as a layer. And this is a pretty big file, so this is going to be a problem. Oh, well, it covered it up, and that's okay. What we can do then is change the order I think. Oh, no, that's layers. Oh, so I've got this on top and this on the bottom. So if I move this on top, it will not let me do that. All right. All right, so can I do it, move down this way? Another way to do this, since it's not letting me do this, is to just open up this file. Also, I've got it open already. I'm going to delete him. Well, no, they're not going to let me delete the base image. But I can open as layers again, pick the PNG that I just saved, and open it over top. If my computer will behave, which it's not. All right, so it still doesn't want to be on top. Well, we will try a different picture because that's not working. Not sure why that's insisting on being at the top level. All right, so instead I'm going to open the, this has probably now gotten annoying. I am going to open the lighting is all wrong for this, but I'm going to open this one anyway. All right, and then I'm going to open as layers again the file that I just did. Usually it's better to open the bottom image first and then the top image. So now I've got this image of him here. If I want to move it somewhere else, I can move it somewhere else. If I want this to be smaller because it looks a little bit small or large in proportion, I can go ahead and go to my layer because I'm selected. As you can see, I'm selected here. I'm going to go to layer, and I'm going to scale my layer. Right now the height is pretty tall, so if I want to say cut that in half, roughly, I can put it there, and then I can move. It still looks like he's in the foreground, especially if I do something like crop the whole picture. I'm using this box tool to crop the whole picture, if it will let me. Nope, it won't let me. Weird. Okay. So part of the issue that I'm having is that I have just switched to the new version of GIMP, and so I'm trying to learn it myself, and it is being temperamental. So in any case, you can actually crop this. This is the tool over here. This square tool is usually what I would use to crop, and then it looks like he's in the picture in the foreground. Shadows are a whole other issue, and that would be for a different time.